All right, we have officially pushed play, and we are back. The Jabronis have returned.
About time. I know everybody missed the crap out of us.
Return of the Jabronis here.
Return of the dude. We're gonna get totally trademarked with that.
I mean, are we? Is Jabronis like a trademarkable thing? Speaking of trademark, dude, you want to hear something devastating?
Sure.
I had this epic plan to just like mess with the music while we were doing our little intros with the little cheesy music things that we have. And I just remembered that when I do the group calls like this, I can't do the music. It's devastating.
We'll just have to go a cappella.
Come on. Oh,
Do
yes.
do 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 do.
Welcome back, everybody, to the We Love Money podcast. Dude, that is actually perfect. I like that better. We're going to do that every time now. But the reason it came up with a copyright thing, JJ, is because I discovered, I don't know if this is allowed or not, like, or what the legality situation is involved here, but I have like 3 songs that I purchased over the years through iTunes, and I can run those through here. So I was going to put, John, guess who's back? Back again. But I wasn't sure if I did that, immediately our podcast would be ruined. I wasn't sure.
It could easily be ruined.
Like, pulled down from the internet. I'm not sure how that will work.
But I don't think they're focused on us. But yes, let's go.
All right, let's talk about some money, dude. You ready?
Yes, it's been too long.
So, John, I feel like we are definitely entering that point of time. More and more things I read are really making me feel like, dude, this reminds me of post-COVID, after the boom after COVID, and then when things started to get when we were in the MetaZoo. Like, dude, when we were collecting the MetaZoo card game and all those new card games were coming to the fold, and I'm even starting to see that exact thing happen. But there are just so many things happening out there right now are screaming FOMO to me, dude.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's probably it looks like it's projecting to be a little bit more of an extended version of COVID. Like it's just still running. Everything's just running up, and honestly, longer than anticipated, just based on history. So it's kind of, again, we've talked about it 1,000 times. As we continue to stretch away from zero, the fall is definitely going to come. But I have no anticipation at all now of when that would be, because it feels like we've already broken through that barrier of what's been kind of the norm before.
No doubt. And I feel like, again, if you remember back to when we went through this the first time, right? Because I don't know about you, but I mean, it definitely feels like where, again, just like, because obviously I was still Edward Jones at the time, like I said, and literally it was just a lot of people, more and more people talking about the stock market, more and more people. We were obviously are into collectibles. Like that card game that we mentioned before was just like, had no business being in anybody, and we were like obsessed with it, and we were kind of falling victim to kind of what I'm talking about right now. But I'm seeing a lot of it everywhere in terms of, like, you watch some of these stocks, like Robinhood just continues to run and run and run, and most recently they're running. Did you see the most recent news on Robinhood, dude?
No, what's the most recent news in Robinhood?
So the most recent little thing that sent them flying up another 8% or something was that they are about to release, like, they're talking about rolling out like tokenized private company tokens. So basically, essentially, like OpenAI, SpaceX, companies that are not public, that you can't buy stock in, they're gonna create like tokens that I guess allow you to, like, I guess Robinhood owns some sort of stake in the company, and they're gonna let you, like, they're gonna tokenize that and like give you access to a private company through this token. I guess is what they're gonna do.
Wait a minute, how can they even do that? That's crazy,
dude. SpaceX already, I mean, not SpaceX. OpenAI already came out and literally said, we do not support this. This is not equity in the company. Again, this is basically like, we do not endorse this. Like, they've already like completely like harsh mutomboed it out of the air. But still, dude, literally, again, when I see things like that, like, and because I have no doubt that if that they follow through on that, dude, people are going to eat that up, dude. They're going to, and even though they don't even know necessarily what they're investing in, they're going to see SpaceX, I can buy this, they're going to do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter, like, kind of they don't really aren't factoring in the legality or the
legitimacy
yeah.
or like all like the layers to it. It's not as simple as owning a stock. There's more layers to it now. Yeah, they're not going to factor any of that stuff in. They're just going to buy it.
Dude, honestly, so you said that to me, and I got really excited because there's one company that I've always told you that I've been so itchy to get my hands on. if it ever went public, and that's Publix. So I was like, dude, when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if Publix could be part of this. But I'm just like, dude, this just doesn't seem right. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I mean, the thing about Publix that makes it different is it's owned by the people, right? I mean, a lot of, they like
Right.
they basically share their stock with employees, right? So it's mostly owned by employees, I would imagine, or
Yeah,
like
it's all
former
internal.
employees.
It's all internal.
Yeah, yeah. So like literally, so it sounds like from what I gather, which is probably how most companies work, is that yeah, like SpaceX and OpenAI, they don't have public shares to trade, but they still collect money from investors, and they just
Yep.
go to they just go to specific people. So in this case, they went to collecting money from somebody who Robinhood has their foot in there somehow. You know what I mean? And basically, so Robinhood has like some sort of ownership. It's kind of what I'm reading. Again, I don't really understand it. And if I don't understand it, there's no way anybody else understands it. But dude, when I see these types of things happening and literally just like I see all these companies and all these people just like gold rushing their way, you know what I mean? It's like sprinting to like new innovation, to new businesses. It's everyone just like all of a sudden like people who have no business in this world or in these worlds just are like everybody's into it, everybody's talking about it. They're actually starting businesses doing these things. They're like jumping in and throwing heavy money like they've never done before into investments because they just keep going up and everybody else is doing it. I'm really starting to feel more and more of that right now, where it's just like
Hmm.
I don't want to miss out on any of this stuff. I don't want to be that guy that didn't buy and
Right.
lost.
Hmm.
I mean, again, like
The
even look at the collectible space. I mean, dude, you probably are like way more like familiar with it in the collectible space. I mean, look at dude that Pikachu card that you sent me the other day, brother. The one that literally they said that was impossible to grade. Have you looked at that card recently, dude?
No, I haven't.
John, we're getting into collectibles, everybody here. We've done it. We're here. We're just gonna slide right into it like it was no big deal. That card, John, how much was it when you were looking at it? What's the value of the raw card?
$2 to $3.
Okay. What was the value of the graded in the 10?
297, maybe 300.
How many days ago was that?
Whenever I texted you, so I'd say like 3 or 4 days ago.
Dude, that card right now, the raw card, I'm looking on TCG Player earlier because I'm trying to find copies on TCG Players up like $5 and being bought out like crazy. There are like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of copies selling every day. And the PSA 10, dude, is bought up to like $400, $500.
Oh my God.
Dude, that is like, again, and that's an example in a specific industry that you're familiar with. Like, dude, that is kind of happening
It's
in the stock market
all
too,
over the
dude.
place. Yeah, no, I agree. I looked at my account yesterday and I was just like, dude, this is, again, I'm at that point now where like every day or every time I log in, I'm expecting to see the pullback and it's just the complete opposite. And I can't make sense of it.
No pullback, John. No pullbacks allowed.
The pullback's not coming.
And that's kind of like the market that it feels
But
like
it
at least
makes
that
you scared because again, it's just knows that it's eventually going to do it. So it's
no
just
doubt,
like again,
no doubt about it.
this is the time where you have to be strategic and you have to be like, okay, like this is getting to the point where I can't afford to not take this opportunity now, given where I am, considering I was not expecting it to be here at all. I
Yep.
don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is, it literally feels. The more I think about it, again, I'm like, it's different, but it's really not. It feels like eerily like COVID, dude. Literally,
Hmm.
COVID. If anything, it just feels even a little faster than COVID.
That's
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
100%.
It feels like it happened a little faster, but it feels almost the same. It literally
Hmm.
feels like it was just like knee jerk reaction to a lot of unprecedented things. And then, especially based off last time, we all saw what happened. So this time, it's almost like there was like no hesitation from retail investors to just be like, I'm buying that dip because I know I've seen this movie before. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so literally again, this time it happened over the course of like a couple of days and then boing, it just like rocketed right back up. And now we're kind of getting to that point where either A, you're in here and you made some changes and you took advantage of that and you're feeling like a genius. And that's kind of what I'm talking about is where like that high is starting to come up. I'm starting to feel it in like a lot of people in the general public where they're like, oh man, I did this and I'm making money. I know I'm a good investor. I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And that like
Hmm.
you're starting to feel that confidence. And then likewise, the people who didn't do that are starting to feel like, dang it, like, oh my God, like how much
I've
money.
always talked about doing this, and now
Oh,
this
and
is a
then they're doing
perfect
it.
opportunity, and I didn't do it again.
And then they're doing it, and then they're feeling good. So again, so this really like lopsided confidence and like positivity in the market. Where again, like where people are really just going back to the card industry. I was watching an Alpha Investments YouTube video the other day, dude. He was talking about how many new card games are coming to the fold. That is just like
Hmm.
last time, dude.
Just like him. Yep.
Everyone sees the success, they see the money, and likewise IPOs. Like in the market, you're seeing a lot of IPOs come in and just obliterate it. So I can guarantee you, we're going to start seeing more IPOs come to the market. That's exactly what happened during COVID with all the SPACs, like Arrival, all those companies that backed their way into the market through a SPAC. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to see maybe not SPACs because of how that went last time, but I think IPOs will start to pop up here
Hmm.
because of how hot the market is. But every time, dude, they're late. Every
Hmm.
time. They should have
Because
already been
again,
doing it. They should have already done it.
exactly, once they decide to make the decision to do it, it's kind of the same thing that we've said, like where we've done. I'll go back to the cards thing. It's like the grading thing. It's like, oh man, like everything's popping. We should send these in. But by that time, you're too late. Versus these businesses who may have opened already and already established, and then are a part of the ride versus trying to play catch up.
Exactly. Because 100%
And
correct.
yeah, you could still potentially do well, but you're not going to do nearly as well as
And
you would if you were already established or already had the card in your hand ready to sell. Um,
yep.
you know,
And the longer it takes, the longer that you are, the further behind you are, the more risk you take on as well.
hmm
Yeah, because at that point especially if you're buying in at that point. But yeah, but keeping it with stocks, I mean, it's exactly the same thing. Is that right now? It's that like if you are watching from the outside looking in and you're like kicking yourself because you've been watching a lot of these stocks like we mentioned Robinhood, like Nvidia, like some of these crazy IPOs that have come out. If you're like watching some of these things just like pop off and you're missing, those are not the stocks you should be chasing. Right? If you want
no,
to invest, you should be looking for other stuff that's not just like completely in the spotlight right now because that is the stuff in the spotlight is probably the most likely to be like closest to the being cooked and definitely the highest risk. It's definitely the
yep,
highest risk.
definitely. You don't want to chase the volatile stuff.
You do not want to chase really anything, but especially the volatile stuff. If you're chasing
Hmm.
it again, you're just like setting yourself up for to get hit smacked in the face. And you might even have a little stretch there where you make some money first and you feel great, and then you get smacked in the face. But again, the further behind you are, kind of going back to what we said before, the more risk you take on. So
Right. And I implore anyone who is listening and interested in making positions, again, I'm not saying you can't, we're not saying don't buy on a higher note. Obviously, we recommend to try to buy when it's at a lower, price point or not when it's riding up on a high wave, but be strategic. If you really want to get in, you really, you know, want to make a position in it, go small. This is the time where like, don't be greedy.
yeah, I mean,
Go a share.
a general rule of thumb is this. A general rule of thumb is this again, because obviously, too. I think what you're trying to say, dude, and I agree with you, is that even though I am very clearly saying that, in my opinion, this is feeling like pretty run out right now. It's feeling like we're getting to like the back end of this little sprint here, where again, I think everybody is like making moves. Everybody who's going to be making moves pretty much already has, or we're already like in process of doing that. So,
Mm,
having said that, even though I'm saying that, dude, this market could run this way for a long time because at the end of the day, there still are statistics out there showing how much money market funds are available. So that fact
mhm.
alone, if that money comes into the market, like that can continue to. But what I think you're trying to say, and I again agree with it, is know the risk you're taking with a certain position. And just like if you were walking into a casino, if I was playing a game that gave me 50-50 odds, there was a 50% chance I was going to win. I might be okay betting, a pretty nice amount. Like it's pretty good odds walking into a casino. Now, if I walk into a game where, like roulette, dude, if I have to pick black or red, I'm going to make a bigger bet probably more comfortably on something like that than picking a specific number. Dude, if I pick a specific
Yes.
number, I might put a little bit because if I win, I'm going to make a huge killing and I'll do great. And I don't, but if I lose, I only lose a little bit because
Yep.
the odds of me winning are not very high. That is the same scenario here. The more, if you're looking at a stock and it's gone up 50, talk about 100, 150, 200%, those are the ones that you're picking a number right now. So make sure that you know that the gamble that you're taking and invest accordingly. So again, if you're going to jump into a
Mhm.
position like that, be reasonable with it.
Yes, exactly. Because again, to the point, this is the only thing I can't picture with this as compared to pandemic times is again, I do think that it's setting up to be lasting longer,
I
like you
agree
said.
with you.
I think it's
I
going
do
to
agree.
last longer than the pandemic. So again, while the pullback or the rise up is kind of the same motion, I don't think that the term of it is going to be as short as the pandemic's was.
Yeah,
Not that that was
it's not the
short by
same.
any means. It's
It's
just
not
not
this,
the same.
and it's not the same. I mean, because I think that really like the main like big picture like source of what happened at COVID was that you shut everything down. Like I said, everything gets super cheap and people start holding on to their money and money piles up in savings. And consequently, the government thinks that things are going to be terrible. So they not only cut rates, but they also put money into our pockets. I remember getting like checks, like stimulus checks and stuff like
I
that.
think it was like two or three checks. Yeah.
Again, we did so stimulus, and meanwhile, everyone's like bracing for this like massive tidal wave that never came. So again, so naturally, when that didn't happen, there's all that like ammo that was loaded up just got blasted into the system, and then here we are again. So that was kind of that scenario, but that is not the same scenario as this. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
Hmm.
there are no stimulus checks coming to everyday people. There's no, there's no been. Yes, people and money markets are an all-time high, but there's no way of knowing whether that's like you and me and a lot of that predominantly, or is that like institutions just waiting to make more money for themselves? Who knows
Hmm.
where that money's coming from? But the regardless is it's definitely not the same scenario as it was before. It feels like that it's going to probably maybe be drawn out a little bit longer to the upside. It will take longer for us to realize if something is wrong that it is, and I think that the consequence of that is that if it actually does go that way, I think that could last longer than we're used to as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because again, I think that will be what we've experienced the last few years is like oh my god, this is happening, everything has changed versus we're talking about like the slow realization that like things are not so great.
Hmm.
And that's not a quick fix necessarily.
No, it's not. And again, we're also in an age of, AI, where AI is booming, and that is, something we've, kind of said we need to talk about more of, again, just completely different. It's a different world right now, completely,
Totally.
than it was
Totally.
5 years ago.
Totally. And just like before, how we were kind of saying that like that we're gonna go back. Some of this stuff's gonna fall off, but not all of it. Some of it's gonna
Mhm.
stay. Same thing's gonna happen here.
Yep.
That again, we will see shifts from this. It will kind of like normalize itself from there. But then some of the stuff that shifts will stick, and it will just definitely change the way we do things. And AI is absolutely one of them, dude.
Yeah, that ain't going anywhere, dude.
Nope, not going. Dude, it's too amazing. Dude, I'm telling you, like it makes me feel bad a little bit, for some of the industries out there. But like, yeah, that I used it to create. I'm using it at this point, dude. OpenAI, dude. ChatGPT can create flyers with like graphics on it.
Yeah.
Like create
What
them.
was the thing the other day? We went to go and we wanted to all go get wings at our favorite wing spot, and you had this beautiful um, uh, Lord of the Rings referenced thing that ChatGPT created with a wing on the
Oh
top
yeah,
instead of the beacons of Gondor.
that's
It was the
right.
beacons of wings,
For Papa B's,
and
our chicken wing spot. Yes, I told it to create. I literally, John, what I told OpenAI to do, what I told ChatGPT to do, was I said, create an image that resembles the beacons of Gondor, but put a chicken wing as the source of the flame, and that's literally what it created. And I was like, dude, that is perfect. But
yeah,
it
it
literally
was.
there did in a matter of maybe a minute or two. It basically did a whole graphic design, video, photo editing thing I
Mhm.
never could do. Yeah, the other day I literally asked it to make me an image that depicts what a stock split is. and it did a little think and spit it out for me. And dude, there it was. It literally had a 2-for-1 stock split, a one little square with like $100 inside of it, with an arrow pointing to two squares. I had $50 inside of each of them, and I was like, dude, it's crazy.
That's
Um,
perfect.
yeah, and for someone like me, who I'm trying to be able to get to a point where I'm creating content, like doing stuff like that, is going to completely change the game for me because
Hmm.
it would take me forever to do that myself, or I would consequently have to pay somebody to do it, which would probably be like not the cheapest thing for a small business like myself. So something like this, while it's not perfect yet, right? So definitely there were like I needed to move it into Canva and make a couple little edits because it kind of like had a couple little mess ups in its little creation. But
But in
dude,
time, that will go away.
and then time that will go away, and it absolutely saved me a ton of time right now. So
Hmm. And again, to your point, it definitely makes you feel bad for a lot of the small businesses and other people in the jobs. I mean, again, I've said it before. I'm even terrified. I use it every single day for work, and it helps me consult better for it. But it's also like, okay, like it's only a matter of time before this thing's pretty much doing my job for me.
yeah,
So it's definitely terrifying in that regard. But again, it's such a mankind boost for the majority of a lot of people, and I think it helps more than people realize.
no doubt about it, dude.
And there's still people that don't use it. People still aren't like fully immersed in it or have not really given it a chance, right? And I can get the hesitation. And again, because again, even just using it, and as somebody who could be threatened by it, it would be very hard. It's a hard sell to convince somebody to be like, oh, this
Like
is,
someone who works at a bookstore when the Amazon Kindle came out, it's like, oh, that thing could put my
yeah.
bookstore out of business. Okay, get that thing out of here.
But again, what the Kindle's been out for a long time, and bookstores are still here,
Yeah,
libraries are
100%.
still in.
It's true.
So it's not impossible, right? I think that again, it's all going to be about the audience and the demand of it, and I think people still want to go somewhere to. It's like malls, dude. I mean, we talked about this recently. Like malls were the place for many, many years, decades, to go socialize, shop, do all that. And yes, Amazon has like completely changed the game. I know that a lot of malls, especially in the Northwest, Northeast, and West, they've closed. They've become Amazon, uh, warehouses or Costco or these bigger, wholesaling companies. So, but they're still there. There are still malls out there,
No
and
doubt.
the mall
They're
by
not doing
me
so good.
is
They're not doing
they're
so
not doing
good,
so
but
good, right? Shops internally are closing, so you're already starting to see the dip, and it's really going to become okay. What companies are going to be left? Like, well, maybe like the Apple Store or like the top end, like Ulta Beauty, like cosmetic companies,
and at the end
those
of the day,
demand type products.
and to your point though, at the end of the day, like a mall company specifically is really a real estate company, right? Because they fill it with businesses, a bunch of other businesses. So to your point, even then, while the appearances they're not doing that well, they are selling their space to an Amazon, to a Costco, like you just said. So that is their version of adapting. It's a completely different like look. But at the end of the day, like I think people think of malls and they think of them as like a retail business when the reality is a mall
It's real estate.
is real estate business. They're filling that
What
with
was it? What
they're
was it in the
filling it with
founder?
retailers, but they're not the mall itself is not in the business of selling stuff and making money other than their space.
Hmm.
Yeah,
What was
so
it in the founder where it was with McDonald's, where it's again he's like telling them like you're not in the food industry, you're in the real estate business,
100%.
right? And that's how McDonald's has dominated because they put themselves in locations in prime spots, in the corners of streets all over the place. It was an incredible business model idea, and that's how they dominated.
It's totally true. Yep. But we're getting a little off topic, so I gotta ask you a question, John. Are you feeling FOMO for any particular investment, whether that's stocks, whether that's cards, and don't say Carvana. You can't say Carvana.
I mean, I'm always going to feel a little FOMO for Carvana, but I also have to remember, and this is really good too. So for people who may have bought something or invested in a collectible or whatever, and I just recently went through this for a collectible that I just sold. There's always going to be that feeling of could I have gotten more? And you have to always remember to tell yourself that yes, there is always that potential for that, but don't let greed affect the judgment. You have to be able to be okay with, you know what, I'm sitting great. I've doubled my money, potentially even tripled. That is great. And don't let the fear of, oh man, I really need to squeeze this thing for every little piece. Because you can do that, but it may whack you in the face. And my example was I recently just sold a card that I had listed for a really high amount, trying to chase that absolute maximum squeeze. And I pivoted instantly, maybe a day later, and dropped it to a point where I
Give
knew it
him
was going
real
to sell
numbers.
right away.
You're talking about Hoopa.
Yes.
Hoopa. He listed it for this card for reference. Everybody, it was how much was that card worth 2 weeks ago?
I would say the graded card was about a $250 to $300 card.
Yep.
A week ago, it went to $500 to $700.
Yep.
And then a couple of days ago, it went to 16 to 2000.
Yep. And you ended up selling
So I
it for
go on
what?
and I see all these people listing it for 21, 3,000, 5,000.
Doing exactly what you're saying.
And
Chase,
I'm like
chase, and
in there
chasing.
and I jumped in and I did it at
Squeezing, get as
like a
much
higher
money.
point. And then I was like, you know what? And I'm already seeing people, they're lowering the price, lowering the price. I'm like, dude, this thing is going to fall. And sure enough, I made the decision. I lowered it. It sold right away. And now it's selling for less than what I just sold it for.
So you undercut
So
everybody. You took less, and then now it's even lower than when you had sold it.
correct. Now that could be a sign of people might saying, oh, well, you just caused the card to drop in price. But everyone and their mother was also doing the same thing.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, JJ. So the reason that these things happen is because cards, just like stocks, people kind of forget this. They don't really. They think they understand it, but they don't. The most important driving force in stocks and cards is supply and demand, and what is the value of this item, this stock, this company, this card? What's the value of it? And what are the factors that drive that supply and demand? That is it rare? Is the company, like I said, killing it? You know what I mean? Like, well, what are the things that? And the reality is that it all comes down to attributing a value to this item you have. And some people, if the value starts to rocket up, you're going to have a bunch of people who've had this item when it was not that valuable. They don't necessarily value it the same way as what you consider the value to be. So if you are going to pay an exuberant value for an item that not that long ago was not worth that much, I would encourage you to very deeply have a strong feeling for why did it go up in price?
Mm-hmm.
What is making people look at the same item, the same company, the same card versus where it was a month ago, 2 months ago, whatever, and now it's more valuable. Why? Again, is there a legitimate, strong reason that you can feel good about and like push yourself to it? Because if the answer is no, what happened in John's scenario with that card is more than likely going to happen. You're going to have people who've had this asset. They don't value it the way that you value it. They're going to be happy as a clam, taking massive profits. And again, they're not going to be greedy and squeeze it out because they don't value the item that much. They don't think it's like while you're sitting there thinking this can go higher and higher and higher, they might be thinking, I can't, what the heck is happening? I can't believe this has got this much.
Right. And there's no reason
What?
for it. Sometimes it just happens and you're like, you can't really explain it. And those are the ones especially that you have to really be like, this is scary. It's scary.
Yeah. And right now, going back to the original point that we were making in this podcast, dude, I'm starting to feel that people chasing that right there.
Mm-hmm.
And myself included a little bit. Like those Pikachus I was talking about earlier, dude, I'm like on eBay trying to like scroll through and pick out some Pikachus that maybe have a chance to grade a 10 because I'm like, again, because FOMO. Dude, literally strictly because of FOMO, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, Celebration is my set. I have so many cards from Celebration. I don't have any of these Pikachus. I like look at them. They're all garbage. I don't even care. Dude, yesterday I didn't care about it. But now it's going up in price. I'm FOMOing. I'm like looking at these copies. I really want, for whatever reason, I can't explain it to you. I feel like I want to have a PSA 10 in my collection. I know it's super hard to grade. And here I am just like battling these FOMO emotions and chasing a card that even though it's only a few bucks, it has gone up a couple 100% in the last like couple
Mm-hmm.
weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, you just can't help it, dude. Again, it's and when it's in the news, it's on and social media, we talk about that all the time, how that's like the worst thing ever. When there's like dangling it in front of your face all the time, fighting off that FOMO is extremely difficult, and I feel it in the air right now.
Hmm. Again, chances are if you're feeling it, there's a lot more people that feel it too. And
Yeah.
it's a fact. So to answer your original question of if I'm feeling any FOMOs, of course there is some things that there is for FOMO, but overall I'm very happy with where I am right now. I don't feel like I'm in the itch of, oh, I have to get this, like, because again, I think we've just done this so long that it comes back around.
Yep.
And again, we're going to get to a point where the balloon deflates, fast or slow, doesn't really matter, but we will go through this wave of cycle like we did before. It will eventually, well, so I don't feel the urge or the need to chase right now. Right now, it's like, okay, I think my biggest thing right now is what is to let go. When's the time that, okay, this is now rocketing up for astronomically for no apparent reason other than demand and people just thinking and speculating what it could be worth. And that goes for stocks. I'm speaking to both.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, am I really like sold on that? And that's another thing too, is I implore people who are in this, who may be in this position to really look and go, did I really love this as much as I thought I did? Or am I okay with this is the price point it's at? I can sell a couple shares and be very happy. And whether or not it goes up or down, irrelevant.
Yep. Is the
And
value
no one can
the
really
thing?
answer that question except for yourselves.
Yeah, it's a
So you
little
got to really
easier.
dig deep and know yourself and figure out exactly where you want to be.
It's a little easier with things that are not stocks because again, it's a little easier to look at an item like a physical item and do I love this thing, right? But it holds true for stocks too. I mean, the question is the value, the fact that it's like going up in price and valuable, is that the thing that I like about it? And if that is the thing that I like about it, and there's nothing else, like again, the underlying company is like, and I'm not really a fan of it, then that's probably a candidate to look at, especially at a time like this, potentially trying to maybe even consider taking some of those profits and taking those gains.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, to your point of not really chasing things, not feeling that FOMO. So I know I told you I made like several different stock purchases a little while back. I had a little hilariously nerdy, uh, proud moment for myself, John. You ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
Because this matters so much. I think it was yesterday. Yesterday, I my portfolio outpaced the S&P 500 while it's 50% cash.
No way.
I beat the S&P with 50% cash.
Dude, good for you, man.
And it didn't go down before anybody says that. Stocks aren't going down at all. It's like, oh, well, if you're cash and it went down, of course you beat it. Like, no, I beat it on the upside. I was up like 3/4 of a point. The market was up like half a point. Get some. Mostly carried probably by like Nike and things like. Did you buy Nike?
I have Nike, yes.
Oh, you're probably feeling very good about that, aren't? Did you see Nike after
Yes, I
earnings?
am.
Woo!
I'll tell you, I'm also feeling really good about Celsius.
Celsius. Oh my God. That one's one that we just drink too much Celsius. So I mean, it's one of those things that you gotta like. How can you not have shares? That whenever I buy a can, I'm at least like, hey, at least I'm supporting myself.
Yeah. But again, that's kind of
Oh,
what we've kind of said before is like, I feel like Celsius was definitely like a risky choice. And, but I believe in the company. I drink the product. So I do think that if somebody who's looking to invest, again, I know we said this before, so I sound like a broken record, but if you find something that you really like, don't be afraid to go for it.
yeah, it's more lifestyle than financial. This will be more of a lifestyle one than a financial investment. You just believe in the product
Right. And
itself
and dude,
and you use it. And I think that having a mixture of that kind of mentality in your investing is a good thing to do. Definitely,
agreed.
it makes it more fun when you are investing in things that you actually understand and know.
Hmm. And that's the thing too. It's not just because you like it and you might be biased towards it. The reason I'm saying is if you like it, you tend to follow what you like. So you're going to be able to see and you're going to pay more attention to it. So again, I know people who've made investments and they just don't really pay attention to it. And I think, again, we work so hard for the money we earn. If you're going to invest in something, you're going to want something that you're not just going to buy just for the sake of buying. Like, you're going to want something. And again, I'm sure I, I have stuff that is in that scenario. So I'm not saying don't ever do that. But the things that I like, I find much easier to follow, like Uber and Best Buy and Target. And like, I mean, I'm just naming a few, but like those are companies that I either shop at or I utilize. And I believe in the mission, I believe in the product that it provides. So it's a lot easier to follow along with those trends and keep an eye on it as opposed to just buying something you don't really understand anything about, but you're just doing it because you think it can do well. And yeah, and that is, in my opinion, like your big risk. But dude, on another note, I didn't even notice that Celsius is now considered a stock pick.
What do you mean a stock like on the Yahoo?
Like it's a yeah, like a recommended stock pick. I
Oh,
didn't even notice that until recently.
wow. Yeah, I had no idea.
I think that's hilarious though.
But this really puts a bow on kind of like because again, I feel like we dangerously borderline, giving advice there, which we're not doing. No advice on what to purchase. You do your own research, but to the point of you don't need to chase the stuff that everybody else is chasing. There's so many investment opportunities out there. There are tons of ones that are devalued because that are in really great spots to purchase, regardless of what's going to happen to the economy. Like if the economy sees a downturn, yes, most investments are probably going to feel the effects of that. But having said that, when you look out there into the investment stratosphere, there are a handful, like a little bucket of stocks that are incredibly, overpriced compared to where, or at least I won't say overpriced. I'll say that they are valued much higher than they were a few months ago, maybe than they ever have been ever before. There are definitely buckets of stocks like that where your risk is going to be higher, but there are also tons of opportunities out there that are trading at really attractive levels from compared to where they are historically. And you don't need to chase the thing that everybody else is chasing. You don't need to be driven by FOMO to make your investment decisions. If you want to invest, you totally can. Just take some time to do some research and do yourself a favor and kind of pick some things that you feel really good about instead of just buying things because everybody else is doing it.
It's over 65,000 different types of companies out there in the market to invest in.
And dude, speaking of which, again, so we'll kind of talk about this too. So AI, right? So here's a way that you can use AI. I'll give you all a little tip out there. I'll give you one too, John. That here's a way that you can use AI. So I would never recommend letting an artificial intelligence tell you what to invest in. But absolutely, I would recommend having artificial intelligence do a lot of the legwork and weeding stuff out for you. So let's say I want a particular type of company, and I'll give you an example. If I literally can go into Chat GPT and say, give me three companies that are 50% below or more, or 50% or more below their all-time highs, that have had increasing profit revenues over the last 4 quarters, and whatever. I can really give it very specific parameters for what I'm looking for the kind of types of investments I want to take a look at, and have it create a list that I can work from to do some homework. So if you have certain criteria, certain industries, certain things like that you are like seeing out there in the world and you want to invest in companies, say there's something in your particular profession. You're like, oh, this is the future, this particular product or item or service, but I don't know how to invest in it. Go to your artificial intelligence and say, hey, are there any companies I can invest in publicly that will give me exposure to this? And I'm willing to bet your butt that some of these AIs, especially the good ones, can probably, with pretty stark, scary accuracy, put together a pretty good list for you that you can at least
And
work from and kind of do
and
your
just
research and go from there.
and just to give everyone a little bit of a taste, as we were speaking, I'm on my computer and I literally typed in the same thing. Companies that are maybe down 3% but show great promise and high market rises and strong finances. and it already gave me three companies:
What are they?
SoundHound, Trade Desk, and Deckers.
See, again, those are all three right there. I mean, I'm familiar with obviously Skechers, Desk. I'm not even SoundHound. I don't even know what that is. But having said that, those again, that would be like again, depending on how you put the criteria, ones that you can take, do some research on, and investigate and see if maybe they are what you're looking for. But the one thing I would encourage is the more specific you can be with the AI, the better it will be. You know, I always make that reference, John, to iRobot. You got to
Hmm.
that is the right question.
Hmm.
You got to ask the right question.
Absolutely. And again, you can also, when you do these chats, again, for people who don't use it, you ask it first, and then you can say, can you make it a little more concise, or can you be more specific in this category and give me three more results?
Yep.
It will continue to take in everything you've already inputted and it's already given you, and fine tune it even more.
Yep.
That
So
was just an example, just to kind of get something on there. But again, if we used Alex's, as
yeah,
again, certified CFP.
for example, for a follow up right there, you could be like, hey, can you give me some in the technology space, specifically technology, and it'll probably give
Mhm.
you three new names in the tech space. You know.
And just like that, 5 seconds later, Snowflake, Adobe, and SoundHound. I don't know what SoundHound AI, but
Oh no, that obviously it's an AI company. So watch, but dude, I know Adobe is devalued, and again in the good, like I said, obviously a fantastic company. And what was the other one you said? Snowflake.
Snowflake,
Oh, Warren
and
Buffett
it
owns
also
Snowflake.
came back. Yeah, and it also came back with Trade Desk. So Adobe, Trade Desk, Snowflake, and
Yeah, I know
SoundHound
Trade
AI.
Desk is like a yeah, technically probably in the tech space, but you again, you're already seeing the real time what this can do for you guys. So again, the AI, dude, it's wild. I took a picture when I was getting that stuff signed for Sam Reinhart. I took a picture of the markers. I was like, hey, I know you said I needed oil-based markers. AI, are these oil-based? I took a picture of them. It's like the markers in your
Hmm.
hand are this product, which are not oil-based. So I'm like, ah. I'm like, well, took a picture of the wall. I'm like, which one of these is oil based? It's like this one. Dude, it's crazy. So absolutely, if you're not using it, I encourage you to do so. Do not let it like do your life for you, but letting it be your digital assistant is definitely something that you can start doing right now, and you probably should be doing that. I project, John, that we're going to be in a world where we're all going to be basically like managers of our little artificial intelligence employee group.
Hmm.
That's where the world's headed. We're all going to basically be like, if you have management experience, hunker it down and polish it up because you're going to need to manage the bejesus out of some computers, probably, is going to end up happening. If you don't have
Hmm.
management experience, learn how to manage artificial intelligence specifically. Start using it.
Make sure you guys read Michael Scott, Somehow I Manage.
I will tell you guys that while the artificial intelligence is creepy, it is quite delightful. It's very nice. It speaks to you very
Alex,
nicely.
so we're going to end this with just one question. Alex, this is a serious one.
Okay.
Are you getting the Ray-Ban Meta sunglasses?
You
Don't
know,
tell me. Don't pretend you haven't thought about it, Alex. I thought about it
so
too.
so at this point in my life, absolutely not. But will I sit there and say that I'm not like FOMO-y? Like at some point or another, I'm probably going to end up wearing them. Absolutely, and have them. Probably. Right now, I'm not going to be. There's not going to be worked into the budget. I don't know how practical they'll be. So I'm going to say no for the short term. But long term, oh, I'm definitely getting those glasses. Oh, I'm getting those glasses, John.
Dude, it's so ridiculous, bro. The whole
Yeah,
thing's ridiculous.
the world we're headed into is just going to be a wild one. I'm hopeful that it won't come as fast as they're making it seem on the news right now. You know, I think that that's kind of like what the cycle that we're in, right? Is that literally we're in that like AI really push where it kind of reminds me of marijuana, straight up. It reminds me of marijuana a little while back, where when all of a sudden like there was a little period of time where marijuana was like, oh, it's going to be legal and all this stuff's going to happen, and everyone went crazy investing in it, and then all those stocks eventually like crumbled and withered away because that news cycle kind of went away. Like, I mean, I don't think AI will be like that the news cycle will go away, but I think that right now with the market booming the way that it is, and them needing to like fuel that hype train every day, AI is just the one that's like continuing the drum that's continuing to get beat, which kind of, in
Mhm.
my opinion, makes it feel like, while I still think it's going to come rapidly, I think I'm hopeful at least that it's a little further off than maybe it seems like right now out there in the world.
Mhm.
Like, I think people are thinking within the next year or two, you're going to start losing jobs to this stuff, which, I mean, it's possible. Totally is possible.
It's already happening now, bro.
Don't say this to me, John.
It is.
To AIs? You think they're just losing their jobs? Like, you think that's like a big thing?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Again, I have,
So
I
much
don't
for
want to
ending
go
it.
into,
So much for
no,
ending
I
it.
mean, well,
Go, go,
again,
go, go. Say
look,
it.
no, it's just, we'll end on this. Again, we can remain blind to it, but it will not be remaining blind to us. And that's all I'm going to say.
Wow. I don't even know. I just got to sit there and think about what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well,
I think it's already, I mean, I'm seeing it. Internally, I'm seeing it already. I'm
like at your
seeing
company, you're saying.
divisions like gone. Like I called into a division specifically and they were like, oh, this number's like discontinued. It's all via the chat and all via the assist line, or the assist format, all message based. So I'm
Yikes.
like,
Well,
okay, so what happened to all those people that worked in, you know,
well, I will tell you.
phone calls that are made out? I'm sure everyone who maybe reaches out to their banks or other companies, again, the AI system is getting more and more intuitive.
And the more of us
The
that
AI
use it, the more of us that
starting
we're
to
teaching it.
answer your questions for you so that you don't have to be transferred. So they're trying to push the automated system more on you so that way you don't have to be transferred because one, it's time saver because I'm sure all these companies who,
I mean,
have
bro. I mean, think about what we just did with stocks. I mean, dude, from like a troubleshooting standpoint, I mean, you're totally right. You got to admit that can do that right this very second. Literally be like, oh, this is what's wrong, and the AI goes, this is what's wrong with this. Is what you need to do. You need to fix it this way.
Yep.
You're totally right. So I mean, yikes.
And on that
And
note, we all wish you all a great
yeah,
day.
and the more we use it, the more we teach it, and the faster. So you know what? I redact what I said. Terminator incoming within years. It's gonna be literally the movie Terminator. That's what's gonna happen.
But again,
It's gonna say except the Terminators will say Tesla across their chest.
exactly. No. It's gonna be Tesla company, but it's gonna say sexy on the side.
Oh, we're laughing about this, but we won't be when it actually.
Look, at the end of the day, like I said, as long as we can, as a group and as a species, we can continue to be mindful of the fact that it is here. It's not going away. That's how we can stay ahead.
Do you have
We may
confidence?
not have.
Do
We
you have
may not
confidence
have
that
the
we as a
ability.
species? Do you have confidence that we as a species will maintain awareness about this, John? Do you?
Dude, I think the moment people become less self unaware is where the problems happen.
Yep.
So
I'm
I think when
afraid.
people are aware, we can at least do something about it. Whether or not something gets done is a whole other thing. But being aware is the first step.
Well, hopefully the 10 people who listen to this podcast will now be more aware, and we will together we will make a difference.
We're making a difference right now.
All right, dude. Well, I
Tell your
appreciate you.
friends.
I appreciate you, Johnny, for spending some time with me. We'll get back on it every week, have a discussion like this. I'll work on getting that one I think that I missed up there so the people can listen to that one too. And same time next week, JJ.
Sounds great. Thank you, everybody. And remember, Alex is a CFP.
If I didn't even say that. Maybe only once.
Dude, you're slacking. I'm doing it for you. It's okay. I make notes.
Devastating.
You went from 3 or 4 times a podcast to not even saying it. So I'll make sure it gets said for you. Okay.
And John is not a CFP. So
I am not a CFP.
earlier when he was telling you how to make your stock trades, don't even listen. That guy knows what he's talking about. Don't listen to that.
I agree. Definitely don't listen to this guy. This is the weird. I'm the crazy conspiracy guy.
Oh man.
But on a well balanced podcast, you need that.
Yeah, dude, you need a little yin to the yang. That's